Hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for being with us. You are watching Stop Now, where we stop, listen, and share. I am Nate. I am one of your hosts. Allow me to introduce the newest member of the team, my co-host, Savita, is back with us this week. Savita, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Nate. How are you?
I am great. It's been a long week, but I'm glad to be here to talk to you and talk to our guests and talk to the audience out there. We're also joined by the man in the mask, JK. JK, get on out here, buddy. How are you this week?
I'm good, Nate. I'm here. I was going to jump and shout with my hands, but
I didn't forget you this time.
Yes, I'm quite excited. Savita, do you want to say something before I jump in?
Yes, I just wanted to say that now that we have our guests as well, who already know about our background and what we're going to do, it's just our purpose is here to end human trafficking, modern slavery, racism, and abuse in our lifetime itself. So everyone can do something greater in the lifetime. Join us to volunteer, support, and donate and get paid for your time. And help us with your skills to change the future.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you, Savita, for that. And as you are new to the team, you also have watched Harold's show, and it's been great. Harold, welcome back. You are a great person, and it's an honor to get you back on our show. And you have extended so much by even extending he wanted to partner with us, and he is the face of the Indian community who has gone through so much struggle, and he has to talk about him. Like, again, welcome back. Give us your brief story and also extended one on your Eyes Open International. We are happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much, JK, Savita, and Nate for inviting me to your Stop Human Trafficking. I really appreciate what you are doing as a community to empower the victims, survivors, vulnerable population, and community members globally. So you are doing God's work, in short. So that really touches my heart. So thank you very much, JK.
Thank you. Thanks for saying those wonderful words.
Thank you very much.
Nate, just a quick note. We have another guest who has dialed in and joined us as well. And Armugam, he has been wonderful and he helped me a lot. He came in our show before and he has dialed in, like he is busy as well. And he wanted to take part, and his story is going to be also discussed about in this. Like, Armugam, welcome back. I know you are listening. You can say hi to our team.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, JK, for the wonderful welcome. Yeah, it's really good. We've been traveling for the last 1 year. So yeah, I've been attending many of our, we had long discussions. Yeah, it was really good. Thanks for all the work you're doing. Yeah, happy to be here.
Good to have you, Armugam.
Welcome.
So welcome.
Yeah, I guess, you know, where we can start, Harold, because I enjoyed our conversation so much the last time, but there might be somebody watching that missed that. You know, there might be somebody watching that wasn't here when we had our last conversation. So can you give us a little brief reintroduction to yourself and tell us maybe what's changed or what's happened since the last time we spoke, sir?
I think a lot of things have changed, Nate, or it is changing at a very slow pace. But the most important, during the pandemic, I have experienced, I'm talking about the United States of America, where there is an increase in the case of labor trafficking. Because I'm talking again, especially the immigrants, from 100%, there is no stats as of now. In the case of labor trafficking, we are very good in the stats of sex trafficking. In labor trafficking, I would always tell that 10% of the victims are Americans. 90% are immigrants. And from this 90%, 80% are male immigrants, maybe from Mexico, Guatemala, India, Pakistan, Nepal, and it's a stigma, it's a shame. And that's why nobody's coming out and sharing their trauma. We just fear of 4 things which perpetrators or traffickers in labor trafficking always mesmerize or threat them. Number 1, they always say, I'll get you arrested. Number 2, I'll get you handcuffed, and they do it by action, like, do you want to get handcuffed? Number 3, I'll get you jailed. And number 4, I'll get you deported. So I'm right now working at the Attorney General's office here with Dave Host and the Governor's office in Ohio on a freedom survey report, which I got more than 200 applicants, which I'm doing it on my own from my non-profit organization. I have a non-profit organization called Eyes Open International. Mm-hmm. So basically it is focused on prevention, education, protection, and empowerment of victims, survivors, vulnerable populations, and community members globally. So we are opening branches in 50 countries because America is the destination. And countries like India, Mexico, Guatemala is the source. And many people get attracted to come to the US, like undocumented, paying the agent, coming through the border of Mexico, walking through the jungles, or that's one area where people try to come illegally or undocumented. But there are people who are coming legally. Like, I just want to give an example that on B1, B2 visa, that's a visit visa. So they enter legally, and then people will tell me, okay, come on, man, stay back. I'll get you a job. I'll get you married. I'll get you a status. It does not work. So people manipulate them, trick them, and trap them. That's one very good example. Second good example, JK, Savita, and Nate, is that people from India, they come on a C1D visa. C for California, C1D visa. And that's a shipping visa. So many people, they jump. Out of 10, I would say 8 people, they jump and they start working here in restaurants, gas stations, convenience stores. But that visa, Nate, can never, ever be corrected. So even if you get married to an American,
right,
anyone, that visa can. So people are not aware of the procedures, policies, and protocols.
So thank you. And I guess, one of the questions that I had just immediately pop into my mind, Harold, is when you talk about the pandemic and you talk about kind of the stress that everybody's been under, and you talk about that rise in human trafficking. What do you think are maybe some of the reasons for that? Like, why has human trafficking gone up over the last year or so?
See, this is very natural, Nate, and many times people don't get it. When I said that there's no proper stats, but say, for example, there are 80% of the people in labor trafficking are immigrants. Now, what happens during the pandemic? It's more than a year. It's going to be close to 2 years. That this immigrants did not get a stimulus package. They got no government aids, which I agree, right? They do not have any like bank accounts, and all the churches, the soup kitchens were all closed. And I respect the Americans because for social distancing, everything was closed. Right. Eyes Open International, until today, like since the pandemic, we have been running groceries, produce, fruits to the victims' houses. So even like a $10 bill or a thing will take care of one of the immigrants in case of labor trafficking. We have even supplied to the Americans. It's not only the immigrants, even to Americans who do not have any things, so we supply them. Because I think basic point again comes, Nate, is about humanity. Every human being born on this planet is human. He's legal. We have no right to take anybody's freedom. So like you go to the United Nations, there are those 30 articles. The Article 4 is about slavery, and basically it is about human rights. So people forget the human rights. So that begins from the house. And today what show you're doing or what JK is doing, and Savita is here, like stop now, is that every community members sitting in the house can contribute during the pandemic. People say, okay, pandemic is there, I cannot do anything as an individual, right? All the vaccination has come out, I cannot do anything on the travel, but sitting in the house, I can help my community members next door. If somebody is in need, somebody needs food, somebody needs some clothing. This is a time to get up, rise, and support. So these are small things. I think all long journeys start with a small step. You don't have to do big things in life. Just go. If you know somebody does not have food, okay, there's nothing wrong. Go and share the food.
Yep. And that's something that I saw, Harold, in my own community, that I was proud of the past year, where you saw people from like churches of different faiths, like work together and hand out food and supplies and cleaning supplies for people that didn't have them. Because at the end of the day, doesn't matter where you're from or what your status is. We're all in this together.
Right. I totally agree. Like, I think that caste, color, creed, nationality, gender does not matter. As far as we respect humanity, I think that is the most important. Like, again, I respect an LGBTQ. Who am I to judge?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I respect them. I'm very much engaged with LGBTQ also, not only in the US, but globally. Like, you might have heard of Prince Manvinder Singh. If not, friends and audience who are listening, like Prince Manvinder Singh was the first open gay prince to come and announce that he is gay. He was in Oprah show 3 times. Okay, so Eyes Open International is collaborating with him. He's got a trust called Lakshay Trust. He is on the advisory board of Eyes Open International. So I always believe that teamwork makes the dream work, Nate.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. I am quite excited and wanted to jump into the topic, Harold, since to support me, like, I don't know, Arumugam is going to say that, but then do you believe in our mission, right? I mean, why I ask that is like, Stop Now is like to stop, listen, and share. Our agenda is to do some social experiment and find out the truth. And since you are a victim and you survived and now you have moved past on that. So our mission is to stop the H1B visa program. So our team members are so passionate and they are taking a side to say that like it should be abolished. So what is your stand on that? Because you came legally on an H1B visa and we have an H1B visa holder here, Harmugam, and he can share his story, like the fears, that what is his status and what is the future and why some people, they are against it and why they call it as a modern slavery. What is your take on that?
That's a very good question, JK, and I respect all the delegates. Like, see, I also came on an H1B visa. So there are like 4 things we call, no, the SWOT, like the strength, the weakness, the opportunities, and threats. So personally, if you ask me on personal, I'm not into politics. I always say I'm into policy making, but personally, if you ask me, JK, that, you know, H1B visa is a good visa. It's a good thing for and good golden opportunity for individuals. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't know how you entered the US, but including me. So people who are talented in India, or I'm talking about India right now, who are talented in India, who are educated, but are not financially very sound, do not have any high profile contacts, but with that talent and education, if they're getting an opportunity to come and work in the United States of America, why not? It's a golden opportunity and you can change your life. But see, there are perpetrators who are taking undue advantage of this status. Like in my case, I didn't know that the sponsorer who sponsors me has full control over me. You know, like I cannot, unless I change my visa from H1B to some other company, which I never knew. So education is very important. So people who are coming on an H1B visa should know the resources, like the human trafficking hotline number. That's 1-888-373-7888. So that resources should be available. See, during my time on an H1B visa, I did not have the resources. Number 1. Number 2, I didn't know where to go and contact. So today, there are so many delegates, JK, that they are contacting me who had come on an H1B visa. That is one area. But when you tell them, the employer, that I know the resources, I know that this is what you're doing is wrong, they come back to track because they are also feared that they might get prosecuted. So for me, in my take, I'm not talking about just, I'm not going to be just being selfish about me. I'm thinking in the global way for the community members. Like there are so many people coming from Hyderabad. There are so many people coming from India, from Delhi or from Gujarat on an H1B visa, and their financial situation is very delicate. They're not very financially sound, but only thing their strength is they've got education, they've got experience, they've got talent, and they've got treasure of wisdoms. So that is being rewarded to them, or they have been respected, recognized, and rewarded by companies in the US. But there are some people who are taking undue advantage.
I'm going to keep quiet. Like I don't want to hijack. Savita and Arumugam, you can question him.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to make the point because it's about H1B.
Okay.
Yeah, so I also agree with him, like, because H1B is like a kind of golden opportunity, and I don't also think like it should be like banned. It should be regularized. I would say more kind of like once you're here, you're in like your sponsor is kind of like playing a major role on here.
Mhm.
Luckily, like my sponsor is not like that, so I didn't face much issues. But where I faced issues like when I trying to switch the company, that's where I saw like how H1B people like they can be able to like find a lot of things are happening. So that was my experience. Other than that, yeah, I like because of H1B only I'm here and like it gave me so much. So yeah, it is good only from my point of view also. JK.
Mm. I guess, and I'll pass it over to Savita right here.
Yes, I just have a question for Armugam.
Yes.
Could you just tell me about because the big fat dream about coming to the US, or how was it when you want, because States was one of your dream to come and work here, or how did the process go?
So actually, to be honest, like I was never interested to come into States. Like initially, I was working with one more MNC like Accenture. I was working with. Like I wanted to be an entrepreneur and start my own thing. Like I quit
Wonderful.
Accenture and started my own thing. But later, what happened is all my peers who were working with me, they were in States and they were like making a lot of Facebook posts and WhatsApp status, right? So I thought I left something good and I thought I was being left out. So that's when my mindset also changed and I wanted to come to US and just I wanted to be in US at least for one day and go back. That was my initial trigger. So after that, again, I joined because I had professional experience. I was able to join again with another MNC, and there I worked around 3 years. And after that, I waited 2 years to get the H1B visa, in lottery. So then I got here. So yeah, it was quite exciting to come here. And yeah, that was my story.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us, Armugam. Harold, I hear that you say you don't want to eliminate the H1B. So I guess my question would be, going through the experience that you went through with a sponsor that was not trustworthy, what kind of reforms would you propose for that, so that what happened to you doesn't happen to anybody else?
I think that's a very good question, Nate, and that is what I'm focusing on. Like H1B visa is good, but at the same breath, just because somebody is sponsoring me, he should also be responsible. And if he breaks the rules or breaks the law, he should be prosecuted, not me, or not the person who is being come on an H1B visa. He should be protected, because he's not, just because he cannot say, okay, now he's the sponsor, he's the boss, and he can do anything with you. No. And that is what I've been even when I was at the White House, also when I was appointed by President Barack Obama, is that there has to be some amendments in the law. And the one classic example, Nate and Savita and JK and Arumugam, is that I came in the year 2003. I became a victim of labor trafficking and debt bondage. But there were 6 states in the United States of America, Nate, where there was no law on human trafficking. Can you believe that? So nobody could get prosecuted. So the governor, I fought my case. My case was the first case with the FBI. So we need to rise up, and we need to see, no, we cannot wait for the government to change. Like we just can't wait for Joe Biden, or we cannot wait for Narendra Modi. We as community members have the power as an individual to make the changes. Somebody has to stand up. That's how Martin Luther King came up. That is how Mother Teresa came up. She went again. She was removed out from the congregation of the convent. She started her own, but nobody sees the back, how it started.
Hold on, Harold.
Yes.
Just not personal. I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here. Did your perpetrator got prosecuted?
No. See,
that's the thing, right? So what did you do, right? Are you ready to name the employer? Are you ready to say that, like, who the person is and shame them? And because I feel agitated, right? Whatever happened for you like 15, 17 years before, still it's a trauma, right? So you have succeeded, overcome those things. But my point is, why do you still support that? Because we are conducting the experiment. You are ready to join us, right? We will show the proof how H1B is being manipulated by thousands and thousands of companies, and I'm heartbroken. Hundreds of people are trapped in this still, and the law doesn't care about anybody else. It doesn't do anything. The perpetrators are not getting prosecuted. They are billion-dollar companies. How do you fight against billion-dollar company? I'm ready to name. We have done that, Nate, right? So we have kept a fake profile, right? Just to clarify to Arumugam also, he is also working in top IT company, right? I'll name every other: Infosys, TCS, Wipro, Cognizant. They all are doing illegal things. So how do we stop that? You are just randomly picking out something and saying that, oh, the system is not fault. System is fault. You all said, right? How can they exploit us and say that we are coming from third world country and Indians are poor, and exploiting the talented just because they don't have the resources? Why don't you tie that? Like, why the immigration system has to be tied to the employer? You give an individual visa and let them come and work to whoever they want to, right? So why should I be held? And there is a whole lot of debate, right? Again, you also know that. You say that like H1B visa holder can do business, right? Arumugam, can you do business?
I don't think so. But
Here you
yeah,
go.
I haven't. Yeah.
Adding to that, just sorry for interruption. Now that it's almost 2 decades that you have come here, so is there any change in the policy that was there then in 2003, or when you applied for your visa, and that is to now? Because we would have seen maybe 2, 3, 4 presidents by then. Mm-hmm. Or more than that. And we have non-profit organizations and people working on them, victims, people writing about it. Now that there was a big boom in the social media also after, if not 2003, of course, after 2007 or 8, people started writing and commenting about it. So is there any change that you see from the time that you became a victim and how it is now? Is there any kind of changes that we can see? But the number of people who are going to the States have come double-fold or, even triple every year. And Asia is being one of the even talented people, immigrants, it's been increasing year by year.
Yes, Savita, I would just want to share here that there has been a tremendous change. Mm-hmm. What was there in 2003 and today in 2021. Okay. Number one change, I would say that Ohio passed a law in 2012. The governor passed a law that anyone who is a felony in the case of human trafficking gets imprisonment for 10 years. So that's one major change. The biggest change, not only in the history of the United States of America, on December 16th, the year 2015, President Barack Obama announced the United States Advisory Council on Human Trafficking, and he appointed 11 survivors. So this is a very, very huge change. We need to, even if we are criticizing, we need to accept certain realities which has happened. And real witness is me. I'm a brown guy, a failure in life, a common man and a sinner. And I got appointed at the White House. I didn't know that I'm getting appointed at the White House. I never applied. I'm being very honest. I never applied. And on January 5th of 2016, I was inside the White House. December 17th was my birthday. 16th morning, he might have announced. I get a call in the evening from the White House that I've been appointed. I just didn't know what was going on. But on December 17th, in all the newspapers all across the world, my photograph was there on the front page. And I never it was a blessing in disguise. I always say it's a blessing of the community members who helped me here. It is the community members who really genuinely helped me, including the FBI agent, the law enforcement agencies. But these are certain things we need to accept. Like you, Savita, what you're doing here today, Nate is here, JK is here, Arun Mugam, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. We can make the change and we have to make the amendments. At the same time, we have to take care of our brothers and sisters who are here and who are coming from different countries. If they're getting opportunity, why should we stop them? Just because I could have taken just a cut and say, I'm living a good life, my kids are doing good, I'm free, I'm a citizen. But no, I always feel of the people who are suffering here. And I respect what JK is telling. There are companies, they outsource. Okay. But there are certain loopholes. And we have to have I don't have the stats. So maybe from 100, if 5 are getting exploited, we need to protect them. I'm not saying no, but if 95 people are flourishing, are happy, so why totally dislodge the entire H1B status? We have to make some amendments, bring it to the law enforcement agencies or the federal agencies, and they're ready to work. It's not that they're not ready to work; they're ready to listen. I'm taking my practical experience, JK. Thank you.
I agree, right? I know that like you're dodging the bullet, right? So I'm trying to fire continuously, right? It's not my question, right? Again, I reiterate that it's like playing the devil's advocate. It's like having a blind eye to this problem, because 70 to 80% of this lottery system through this loophole, right? Indians have been trapped in this. I know that like we have Sundar Pichai and Google CEO and other people who came in this. So we just cherish those things, right? I am not focused on those things. I am trying to focus on people, thousands and thousands of people suffering silently in this, right? Why are we showing blind eye to it, right? So we know that, like you said, like the progress has been made step by step. I agree to it. So what I say is like completely abolishing and giving freedom to the immigrants to have the visa on their own, right? Why should my employer sponsor me? What is this concept of sponsoring? Is it not slavery, right? Attaching it and saying that like, you cannot work for anybody else. You have certain terms. And if you are fired, you have to leave the country in 2 weeks. Arumugam can speak on that, right? So why do you put those conditions and threaten people and keep them under fear and exploit them to work for long hours? Because you cannot question here and you are paid low. I can challenge that. That is the experiment we are conducting it. If you are a US citizen, how the recruiting process happens, how the recruiters talk to you. If you are an American, they talk to you in a different tone. The minute I say I am an H1B, they give a shit about me. They don't give a damn, right? I want to talk to your employer. Who's your employer? Give me your contact. Show me your ID, your visa copy. They ask everything, which is illegal. And everybody is doing that. And we are just saying that, oh, it's not happening. One or two people here and there, like they are getting harassed or getting victimized. No, it's not. There are thousands and thousands of people. And we know the H4 story, right? You know that, right? The spouses, they were not able to work. And now they got that because of Obama giving the EADs. And in the recruitment industry, if you are aware of it, they don't want H1B candidates, but they want H4 candidates. How can a H4 be there like without an H1B? And as an H1B, you will be paid only $60,000 a year. But with H4 EAD, you can bargain and you can even get $100,000. We did that. Nate can talk about that. Nate, what was the experiment?
That 2 months is given for you to search for another job, or you have to, it's like fired, so please leave the country.
Yeah, in 2 months, we have to file another, we have to find another company and then file our status. Else, we have to leave before 60 days. If beyond 60 days, we consider illegal stay here.
So just another question. Just think of me like a layperson, a layman kind of a question. When I am applying for a H1B, and if I'm going to get the H1B for 3 years and then I can extend it, will there be a list or a document saying these are my rights, these are not my rights? Or will I have any kind of an induction program when I land in the American soil? Will I have a induction program of a day or two telling me these are your rights here, this is your medical, or this is your social security, or this is your whatever rights I have with the country? Do I have a program like that is going on to help a layperson? Because for me, America is a dream. And then I come here and someone is going to ask me to leave a country in 2 months. It's a shock by itself. So I'm going to go through the 4-5 stages of the grief and the depression and whatever. So how is it going to be? How is it? So maybe it's a very laywoman kind of a question that I have.
Sure. So first, whenever we get the H1B, right, it's a two-way process. So first you have to apply for the lottery. So once your lottery is a process where everybody will apply, only 65,000 will get selected out of it. And there also we have 10,000 for who were doing masters here. They have a quota. So once your application gets selected, then you will go for the actual application. So in the application, you have to provide your certificates and all the stuff like experience certificate and from your company, everything you have to provide. So after that, there will be one interview. So for H1B, the interview will be mandatory. So there you will be given one slip where your rights will be written clearly. So that's where you get to know what you need to do when something happens in USA.
Okay.
Arumugam, just to correct you, right?
Yeah, go ahead, JK.
So we are just Indian communities trying to hijack you, right? And sidelining you, right? We don't want you as a host. So those who are in US, the interview process doesn't happen, right? So there are, again, thousands, I don't know the number, even in millions, people who do masters in US, right? So they are trapped in the Desi consulting. You all know that term.
Yeah, true.
The Desi consultants, they promise you, they apply for your H1B, and once it gets selected in the lottery, you get that. And people staying here, fearing not to go back, and they won't get stamped. They are staying here for more than 10 years with the renewal and all the other dramas are going on, right? I don't want to pull everything out in this. The problem is, how are we going to address? Because some of them, they find this as a beneficial, right? I'm getting benefited. I don't give a shit about what happens to others. I know how to protect myself. I can switch between different companies. Multiple people can apply for my H1B. So what is this funda going on here, right? Why the US government cannot fix it? Because there is a lobbying that is going on by the billion-dollar companies, and the attorneys are earning easy money without going to court, just filing the papers. They are making money, right? When I'm making money, why should I bother about others, how they are suffering? If somebody gets fired, I don't give a shit. That's what is happening, right? Nate knows that, right? We set up a fake profile and we got a job and worked in Cognizant for 3 months, and they did not pay, right? I did the work for it for 3 months through a contracting company. I'm naming those company. I'm going to put those documents as well. It's called IDC Technologies. And now, without any reason, they fired, right? And Cognizant didn't pay the payment. IDC is saying unless the Cognizant company clears your payment, we will not pay you. So this experiment we did here, right here, and it is still for the world to see the proof. So anyone can be trapped and exploited in this. So that is why we call this as a modern slavery, and it is a human trafficking, and we need to fight together and stop this, because I will not accept anyone justifying this. In no way this is a right system.
JK, I admire your courage, number one. But I just want to share, JK, is that when you're addressing this issue, do you have a solution for the federal government or the US government? Okay, this amendment needs to be done. If you have a problem, that's the way I look at it. If there is a problem, I even try to give a solution. Okay, this needs to be done. That's very important. And most important, JK, is that including me, I came out of my own choice. So I just can't blame anybody. I always say I own my decision. I always say I made a mistake. But then it is how I get out of it. So many people have a choice, but even when you tell them, they still want to come and stay back. That's one. Lastly, I would just want to say, JK, is that I'm not trying to say that what you're doing a fantastic job. We're not trying to say that we're trying to point finger towards the United States of America. But even if you look at our own country in India, do we entertain or encourage immigrants? There are so many cases I know that even people who wanted to go on a visit visa were denied to go to India, which I never knew. So every country has its own law. So, but I totally agree with you about all this on your issues of these multinational companies and the things being outsourced. That is on my agenda, is on my list, but not on the is not right now on the top, because I'm working with a lot of immigrants who are totally undocumented and being exploited and working on their continued presence. So I'm just trying to share with you, JK, on that. But I really admire you're a courageous man. But every people, like you said, people are silent. That's right. I always tell that silence or suicide is not a choice. It's not an option or a solution. But there are people who are not. They just want to keep quiet. You need, because if you're keeping quiet, you would not know anything about me. So they have, and that's what you're doing is you're doing a good job. Like you're inspiring people to come out and fight for justice. So the more people come out and fight for justice, the laws will change. Thank you.
We totally understand it's the survival of the fittest, and of course, who the country which always believes that is who else than the US. But he is trying to speak for the voiceless. You said 95% of the people are happy. They come with the big dream, and then only the 5% there is some kind of a glitch that is happening. So these voiceless people is what they need, courageous people. So JK is trying to be the voice for people like that, who exploit, who act as a threat, who suck the blood. So these kind of people who are nameless, who are voiceless. I saw your story last time, and it was really heartbreaking. Maybe it happened almost 15 years ago, but you still have the pain that is going through, and you can easily empathize with the person who is there. You said, when you talk to people, how are you? Maybe the people will not open up in the first row. People will open up in the second, third, fourth meeting. So all that, it's not easy unless and until a person has gone through this whole process and who had been helpless is when you empathize with the other person. So JK is trying to be even for a minority group of people. The H1B is great. It's fantastic. It has improved the middle class of a country like India. It's been a dream. You study an engineering graduation, you go for an MS, or you finish your. It has increased the overall GDP of India also, if I'm not wrong in that way. And it's also helped America in so many other ways. We have a Sundar Pichai because of millions of other Indians who has gone there.
Why so Sundar Pichai? We have Savita, we have JK here.
Of course. Of course. Futures.
Again, Savita, thank you for supporting me and defending our team, right? So this is something, right? Harold, right? You just said you are a brown skin and you have this inferiority in you all the time. Just because they are white, they don't dictate. I think Nate can talk to that, right? Because you are also an American now. You have become an American, right? And Nate is puzzled, right? What's going on with this guy? Like, I'm an American born. I don't have any experience in this. Let them fight it out, right? So that is why you have to tell to the white people from the beginning, it is not, whatever system you change, it is not going to work. The simple rule, H1B is a non-immigrant, right? Why do you create a non-immigrant category when 150 million people in the world prefer to come to immigrate and work in this country, and they are craving to come to this country, right? So you are creating a system to exploit people all over the world. That's for true. And you cannot dictate or tell the white people to change. The white supremacists will not change. I dare to say, because back in India, right, that is, I know we as such, India is so diverse in culture and language. We were not united together all. That's a different topic altogether, right? And 1 billion people will have their own problems, right? and they are being exploited. If you give money, like they are ready to do anything. I am ready to be slave. One of the guests, like he said, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, Shiva, I think, said like, I'm ready to be a slave, right? We were slaves for centuries.
I remember that.
Yeah, he said like, what is wrong? H1B or whatever, I'm getting money, I'm getting paid. Like I don't want to use the F word, right? Being offensive here, but then that is what everybody says. The problem is, the root cause of the problem is H1B is completely wrong. I cannot be tied to an employer saying that like he can sponsor. They are holding a visa, they are holding the passport, some cases, and some cases are so horrific, nobody can fight it out. And if you look at the statistics, how many of them will complain? You are an educated person, you have a graduation, you have engineering degree, you are smart, talented, right? If you are going to be treated like that, you will say like, fuck off, I'm going to some other country, right? People can go to Europe or Canada. And the attorneys say the same thing, right? Why don't you do another master's? And why don't you try to immigrate to Canada or apply for T visa or U visa? What nonsense is this, man? How long we will be treated like this? I'm sorry, like, I will not take citizenship in this route. It's so degrading to the dignity of our people that everybody has to stand together in one voice and say that like, let's stop this. That's all, right? There is no positive side of it. Like, for example, if Harold came and he was happy, just make an imagination, Harold, and you have become a CEO of Google or Microsoft. Will you even have a look at this H1B program or the human trafficking angle? No, I dare to challenge that. No big corporates will have an eye or a look on the human trafficking issues because they are the one who is exploiting it. I am going to broadcast that, right? We had an interview with the fake profile for Apple, and Google is on the pipeline. I will show you, name any company in the world. I will infiltrate into that and expose all the corruption that is happening over there. So I'm not saying I'm a perfect, but the problem, as you said, we need to find the solution. Mm-hmm. Without finding the solution, we are trying to deviate the issues and saying different issues, right? It is helping. What is happening in India back there? Like, why people consider that as a corrupt country? Because everything is justified here, right? A graduate, a master's degree student who comes here, who is a 20-year-old young, and gets trapped into a Desi consulting company and faking profile to show 10 years of experience. How can a 20-year-old will have 10 years US experience who has just entered the country and they get a job? So they are mentally traumatized, making the assumption that you can do anything wrong to get big dollars and climb up the ladder. And they do that like going back in India. So don't we see that like how the corruption multiplies and spreads across as a disease to various countries and continents? So how do we like, so obviously like US is great. They are the big boss, right? Daddy of the world. And who tells them like to correct? They will not fix it. So we are small voices, like we can jump up and down, but I don't think like we can make some impact. Correct me if I'm wrong, Harold, like how are we going to win this fight? That's the big question here.
JK, I can say till one thing is that, we can make the change, we can make the impact, and we can create history. Like what you said, like, today, like what Savita also said, like I'm also in the same boat. Like I'm always trying to be the voice, courage, hope, and freedom for the voiceless or for the victims. That's my passion. That's my passion. That's my purpose. That's my power, and that's my prayers. Because that's my 4 things. Because I always tell, I failed on 4 P's. I failed as a parent, as a provider, as a protector, and as a person. But I flipped those 4 P's. And I totally agree with you, JK, that everybody does not have that courage or that self-esteem. The self-esteem is broken. And that's why you and I, we both are here with Savita, Nate, on this mission. So I would like you just said that, I would not take the citizenship, but if I was in your place, I'll take it, because it is you and I who can make the change. If you don't take that thing, because if you need to make any progress, you have to put your step ahead. And that's what I realized. I had faced a lot of obstacles. It's not that I just got everything as a cakewalk. I'll be honest. I turned obstacles into opportunities. That was my decision. I decided one thing one day in my life. And I tell the audience who's watching, be happy, think positive, never quit, and believe in yourself. Otherwise, I was a dead man. But then that is something that I had the determination, willpower, and most important for me, I wanted my kids to succeed. Because it's not about me. Because I know if I die, because I told you, I don't know, JK or Savita or Nate or the audience is watching today, that my trafficker or perpetrator hired a guy to kill me, and he meant it. And I could see it, like, I'm dead. So hiring somebody and you getting shot. But I was talking to my wife one day in the late afternoon in the apartment. I told my wife that, I'm not going to live, I'm going to die. I could see death. My younger son was playing on the floor, facing the wall. I always tell, do not be scared what the child speaks. When the child is small, he speaks anything, and we say, come on, don't talk this. But be scared what the child sees and hears. He comes and taps me, and I look behind, and it tells me, Dadu, if you die, what happens to me? Who will take care of my schooling? And that is when I realized, if I die, he dies. So there are certain things that has changed me or transformed me, And that's the reason, like JK, what you're doing today, like people who are watching this, they'll get a lot of courage. And this is not only case of H1B visa, JK, Savita and Nate. There are so many people going through so much trauma during the pandemic, a broken relationship, ill health, poverty, unemployment. People just quit, they commit suicide, or they just get into drugs or alcohol. But I said, no, there is a solution for it. So what show you're doing is that many people might get transformed, not only in this particular case of labor trafficking, but on many fields of their personal life, how to take a decision and rise to the occasion and succeed and be happy. Because everybody has to rise on their own. Like you can lead the horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink.
I guess the extra stress is also put on H1B. It's one of the stress because we are talking about immigrants or people who come from one country to another country. So even though it is a big dream, it is a foreign land. So you don't have your friends, you don't have your family, you don't have your food. It is not the same weather. So there's a lot of other pressures. Plus you have an employer pressure. Plus you have a money issues. It's an added, that's your last straw. Yeah, it could be so. There's a lot of emotions attached to it. If you have your family, it's good. If you have your family, it's again bad. So there's a lot of case to case. There's a difference. So H1B could be the last straw, and there's a lot of emotions attached to it. And then you have to blame somebody, and that blame could be your employer. Like one of the point of view.
Yeah, that's no problem. I was just gonna say really quick, like I'm with Savita in giving tip of the cap to JK, because as somebody who's here with Stop Now, I didn't even know much about this issue before I started seeing the videos and things of that nature. So I think there's a value in the awareness that you bring to people, Harold. And so I'm wondering, like, there's probably somebody watching right now who is a layman or a laywoman, like Savita said earlier. What can they do? Like this is a big issue, a complicated issue, a complex issue. What can the person watching do to help the victims?
See, I always tell, like, it has happened in reality. I create awareness, and there is this. I just want to give an example of this American lady who was a friend of. She works in an airlines company, and people ask me, where does labor trafficking happens? Like whatever JK says in high-profile companies, but I'm talking at the grassroots. It happens at restaurants. Mm-hmm. It happens at gas stations, convenience stores, motels. That is where I got re-victimized. It happens in agriculture, farming. It happens at white-collar companies now, like what JK is addressing right now on H1B visa. But these are the grassroots levels. So this lady, she went to a gas station. So whenever she went in the morning, she found this guy. Whenever she went at night, and then she might have realized there's something wrong. So I always tell community members who are watching now also, if you see something, say something, like what you all say, stop now, right? Mm-hmm. So I always say, stop everything and dial. Like, again, I'm saying 1-888-373-7888. So that's the National Human Trafficking Hotline number. So in that particular case, nor if you're a layman, Nate, you're not going to get into any problem. The perpetrator will not know. The victim will not know. But they know, okay, you give them the location at so-and-so gas stations or restaurant. I find something is wrong. I think they're a victim of labor trafficking. they look into that. And if it's something very grave, call 911. And you are not in the picture, but you are saving somebody's life. And it has happened multiple times where people's lives have got saved in the US, where individuals maybe like JK or Americans or somebody, a good community members have dialed that number. So many people do not know the resources, like what to do or how to approach them. And whenever, another classic example, I was in Washington, DC, and I was talking to this delegate, and she told me that I go all the time to the Indian restaurant. But I said, if it's a waitress, and I told how it happens. So she never believed me, and her waitress was a girl, Indian girl. And I said, they never get the tips. I just gave a small example. Well, I don't believe it. I said, yeah, they never, because I worked. I said, all the tip goes to the owner or to the perpetrator. So she went. Maybe after a week, she used to go regularly. And the very same day, she called me, Harold, man, I couldn't believe it. What you said is right. I met this and I spoke to her and she said, hey, I don't get the tips. So I told her, if you want to give tips, put $2 on the credit card and then give cash separately in the hand when no one is looking. So these are certain red flags, which people, many times what JK is saying is right. People are he said that about Sundar Pichai comes on a H1B, becomes the CEO. So they don't know what's happening in human trafficking. But again, this is a passion. There are many delegates, I don't know about, including what JK, Savita and Nate, you're doing. You're not a victim of any crime of labor trafficking. That's what I'm guessing. But still you're doing this out of passion, out of your personal passion and time and volunteering, whatever you're doing to create awareness. So that's something that again comes back to the humanity, that we need to help each other.
Right. Rightly said. Yeah.
Yeah. We are running short of time. I hope you guys take few more minutes. I just want to run this promo that we are running. So we have been talking for almost an hour. So if you don't mind, Harold, Arumugam, we can conclude in another few minutes. But the problem here, right? So we did multiple episodes. I wanted to play that out, even how employers are not supposed to exploit, various laws are there, protections are there. Brazenly, they are threatening, asking you to pay money to sponsor your visa, and also withholding your salary, and also after making complaint, no violation kind of thing that is coming up from Department of Labor. So there are other side to those stories as well. We cannot give promises saying that, oh, you just dial to the hotline. I'm not picking on you, Harold. That's a good way, but still, right? If we instigate people to go against their employer and complain on the abusers, effects is going to be on the individual. They are going to suffer and traumatize. It's not that easy, right? We have multiple stories being reported in our staff now, where they complain it, file and fight it to the end. At the end, they say you go to the court, sue those companies, right? Because billion-dollar companies easily get away with various loopholes. That is one of the things we wanted to challenge and experience through our experiment, right? So expose it, you are welcome to participate. You need $100,000 job, come to me. I will show you how to get that. That's the thing, I'm asking, are you ready for it? I can fake your profile and get you a job in these billion-dollar companies in 3 to 4 weeks, for sure. But is it fair to do that? Because we are hurting not only just the Indian community, but others, right? The American jobs are being taken out, right? So we have to be fair in that, in analyzing these issues, and also with hopes. It's not just hopes and dreams, right? What happens, Arumugam, I'm not picking on you, but various families who come on this visa and still they are on the backlog for 10 years, 20 years, and they have kids. Just imagine, right? The kids who are born here, they become American and they are traumatized. When they grow here, how do they fit in when they have to leave the country and go back? Or people who are on H4, the students, right? The primary and high school education system, I really have to appreciate that, right? So I have a free education system here and everybody gets educated. But when it goes to college, they become out of status. Mm-hmm. So what do they do, right? How do you explain it to your future generation? How do we still continue to have this drama playing out, right? How do I explain to my son or to my daughter, like, no, we have to go back to our country. If we are kicked out, if we lose the status, we cannot get a job in 2 months or another employer, then I have to go back. How do you address these issues? That's my final question, because this topic is a never ending and we can do multiple episodes. But then right now, I just want to conclude with this final comments and thoughts.
But JK, what you said, I would not say so. Every episode you're doing and every time we are meeting, I think we are taking baby steps towards eliminating this particular problem, number one. Number two, even for the students, like kids who are say not born here, but came at the age of 4 or 6. That is where President Barack Obama introduced the DACA, where these kids could study, And I think I will work with you behind after the show also later down the road, is that how we can make some changes in the amendments with the federal government and go with concrete proposals, like what you said, like people are working but are being exploited by their employers by paying them money or they're to bribe them, which is wrong. I totally agree with you. But we need to take a concrete solution or with a concrete example. Yes. And give it to them and say, no, see, this has to be stopped. And here is the case. We did this and the Department of Labor didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. So I would seriously like to work with you on this particular project on case to case basis, not just hypothetically, okay, this is one case and here it is, and solve that case, and make that as a role model and see that no more future cases are repeated in that particular bracket. Thank you.
Exactly. I really appreciate. Thank you for that volunteering effort, Harold. You have been such a pleasure. And Nate, Savita, you have any final comments or thoughts?
There is an issue. I'm sorry. There is an issue. So we have to work towards the solution. There is a problem. We can't talk about the problem all the time. We have to go through, even though if it's a baby steps, we have to look into the solution in the future. Yes.
Yep. I would agree. And then before I finish off with my final thoughts, JK, I wanted to extend the space to Armugam. Thank you so much for telling us your story and your experience. Do you have any last words this week?
Yeah, Nate. So since
thank you for that. And I think my last thing, JK, first of all, I want to thank Armugam and of course, Harold for joining us. Thank you so much for being generous with your time. Like JK said, we spent an hour here. I feel like we still could talk for another couple hours because there's a lot of moving parts with this issue. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is making sure that we are there for the victims and we make sure that there are no future victims and work towards that goal, even if it takes baby steps. So I want to thank everybody for watching. If you would like to get involved, you can check us out online at stop-now.org. That's where you can find out more information about the campaigns we're running. You can volunteer because, like JK said, like every bit helps, every hand helps in this fight. And we'll keep moving forward and we'll keep the pressure going. So again, thank you so much, Harold, for joining us this week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Savita. Thank you, JK.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right. So, and then thank you to everybody watching. For Savita and for JK, Stop Now. Stop Now, a social experiment enterprise.